Okay, so moving on to the webinar proper, we'll be focusing on today's topic, which is on safeguarding your data. And to keep us on our toes, we'll be gaining the benefits such as discovering advanced data protection strategies. We'll be also learning real-life success stories from some of our speakers. We'll also explore the benefits of the Acronis solution and our Promethean cloud service. And we'll also have, to interact directly with our speaker during the question and answer session, and also gain very actionable insights to safeguarding our valuable data. So today we'll be having our first speaker, who is present here, Mr. Peter French. He's the Acronis General Manager for Middle East, Africa, and East Asia or South Asia. He's a senior leader in the backup and cybersecurity industry. And he, Mr. Peter, is very passionate about using technology creatively to keep us connected. Then we'll also have, after he speaks, we're going to have a question and answer session. Then after the question and answer session, we'll have the second speaker, who in person is Elvis Okoye. He's a skilled cloud engineer at Promethean Consulting Limited with a very good passion for, leveraging cutting-edge technologies to drive digital transformation. So without wasting much of our time, I would like you to please welcome Mr. French for his presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. First off, it's a real pleasure to be, well, shall I say, seated here and presenting to you all today on this topic. Indeed, data protection, cybersecurity, or as we call it in Acronis, cyber protection is a major passion of mine. And generally, you need to try and stop me from speaking about it rather than come and ask me to speak about it, because it's pretty much all I do day in and day out. So with that, I am going to take a few moments now just to set the stage with who we are as Acronis and what it is that we do as the vendor. Then I will delve into a few real-world examples on what stories, successes, etc., that I've encountered over my career in this space. And last but not least, and the most exciting part is I will get to engage with you all directly and have some questions and answers to share and to understand what you may want to know or what ideas you have in this space. So let me first ask here, can you see my screen? Just a simple thumbs up or a acknowledgement will be appreciated.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Now, so to set the stage, as I've said, starting at the very beginning, in this digital age, in this modern world, our lives have been seriously simplified, be it from how we interface with financial institutions or banks, just leveraging the comfort of our home and our mobile phone, through to managing IT, or managing servers. No longer do we necessarily need to be building our own office data centers and complex systems and multiple platforms. We can spin up services on demand in the cloud from anywhere in the world and manage it from anywhere in the world. And those are pertinent and relevant to our day-to-day, or at least in our business space. Well, let's take a step further and look at something like a camera, a calculator, a compass. All of these things we find in our mobile phone today. It has truly been simplified and consolidated, and the experience allows anybody and everybody to access and utilize, be it these advanced technologies, through to these advanced and tailored services. But if our lives have been so simplified digitally, why does it seem like cybersecurity and data protection have gone the other way? Why has it become so much more complex? I mean, if you think back some years ago, it used to be simple. Install a firewall or ensure you have your firewall configured on your network perimeter and ensure you're protecting your system, maybe with a backup and then a malware protection solution. And that was pretty much all, or almost all, the everyday user and business needed to do. Now, however, it is far more complex, and there are so many different potential entry points for malware. There's so many different threats. I mean, first of all, what triggered this? We had IT that effectively used to be under our safeguard and under our control in our server cabinet or server room at the office, through to it being shifted off-site. And the only control we have to it is that convenient mechanism, but still limited access. It's a command line, a portal, an interface. We rely on somebody else for many of the other safeguards. We can't just go and pull the plug anymore to protect ourselves in the event of a catastrophic issue or outage. Then Amanda mentioned this in the introduction, but the volume of data and the importance of data has grown exponentially over the last years. I mean, absolutely. As you see there, in 2010, there was approximately or estimated 2 zettabytes of data created by man. And that's balloons in 15 years by 90-fold, so to 181 zettabytes. And what's a zettabyte? Well, it's a very large number. But that is, what's that? A trillion gigabytes, million terabytes, or 1,000 million terabytes, a significant volume of data. Along with this change, of course, and along with IT moving to the cloud, the complexity has also increased. With SaaS applications and so on and various infrastructures, we as IT users need to consume services from a multitude of different sources. And that in itself has made this data protection conundrum so much more complex. And it's, even though the convenience was introduced of us being able to do this right now, sitting at home or in the office on a public holiday, being able to participate in this, our data exposure and the risk of these conveniences is ever increased. And last but not least, talent. Talent has also not kept up with the rate of demand or the rate of acceleration. Not saying we're less talented. I'm saying this explosion in services and explosion in solutions and this shift to the cloud has led to a big talent gap where we see there's currently over 3.5 million open cybersecurity jobs just to address this specific problem space. That's a good thing on the one hand. There's definitely an opportunity there. But with there being all these vacant holes and all these vacant jobs, it means people's data protection needs aren't necessarily, and companies' data protection needs aren't necessarily all being fully addressed. So it's not supposed to be a doom and gloom message. It's just saying this is why we've seen this shift. Of course, if I were to leave it here, it would be pretty dull indeed. But let's just move on a little bit here. So in response to this big shift to the cloud and these challenges and shifts that have been presented, we've had to learn and utilize and procure an increasing number of applications to cover those same basic data protection and cybersecurity needs. What this results in? More vendors, more agents, more invoices, more risk, more updates, more training, effectively more complexity. And be that for you as the end customer, the user who operates with the system, through to your provider who is offering you these services and having to navigate the wild west of the solutions that are available out there. So you can manage this complexity with two strategies. Continue on the current course and keep training more people and adding more vendors and adding more solutions to address these increasing complexity and security demands. Or the alternative, to consolidate around a set of purpose-built and integrated technologies that reduce complexity, increase control, security posture, and overall satisfaction. That is indeed what we are presenting here. And that is what Acronis offers in our Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud platform. I'll be very cautious today in the audience and in the time I have to not try and showcase all the wonderful benefits of what we have. But I will take a few minutes just to demonstrate where it is we're pitched and where it is we place in the overall cyber protection landscape. And what we do is we offer a single integrated cyber protection platform that is designed and built for the service provider, in this case, by our partner Promethean Consulting, to be able to deliver a complete data protection and cyber protection solution to you. We cover your physical or your on-premise, your portable workloads, as well as your cloud data. And what do we mean when we say we cover? And what is the cyber protection? Well, it's a multitude of integrated components. It's not just various tools that have been slapped together. They have been very, very meticulously designed and integrated to offer the best of breed individual components combined and integrated to offer new protection options and new protection and data management solutions too. So we have a core component of your cyber protection solution will be your security. And we offer a baseline security component with vulnerability assessment, ransomware protection. And I'll say ransomware protection, and I'll highlight that again and again. It is still vital, even though in the last few months we've seen a slight decline in the number of ransomware attacks, at least being reported. It is definitely not a dying trend. Just to hover on that point a bit more, the nature of the ransomware attacks themselves have also evolved and progressed, where it's no longer a company or a bad actor just encrypting your data and saying, well, I've got the keys, pay me, or you can't get them back. They've gone a step further and they're actually doing the traditional, ransom methodology. If you don't pay me, I will harm your company. I will release this private and sensitive data to the market. So they've created a more urgency and a more of a drive for you to want to pay them. So having anti-ransomware protection, we prevent the threat from causing havoc, but indeed having additional copy of your data offers you protection that, well, even if they were to get their hands on it, it is safe. Then, of course, something like a data encryption is also an additional layer that you would need to consider to protect your data from being held ransom or being shared publicly. But moving on to what this integrated solution is, we cover the security component. We've got endpoint detection and response, which is recently been released, and it offers a real completeness to our security offering now. Of course, security is the front line of defense, but what happens when something does go wrong? And it's not just a threat causing havoc and bringing a system down, but we also have real world and non-malicious activities that can lead to data outages, be that hardware failure, be that user error, be that power grid failure, whatever it might be, having integrated disaster recovery allows you to very quickly get your most important workloads back up and running in the cloud for you to continue operation. Then, of course, the cornerstone of what our solution was built on, and that is our backup element. It's definitely not what we only specialize in anymore, but it is still an integral component of what we offer here. And we offer backup for a multitude of applications and workloads that allows you to have complete protection and peace of mind should the worst happen. Then the management component is also critical here, be it managing larger volumes of your systems through to having a remote desktop functionality to remotely support or remotely access and manage your own systems when you're on the move, or for Promethean to perhaps remotely manage your systems from afar should you have an incident or should you require support. It means you don't need another third-party tool. And I won't mention names here because there are some incredible tools out there. But bringing this all into a single agent, single console, single pane of glass, and effectively single invoice makes it really, really convenient. Numerous other features here to highlight: patch management. Indeed, from a security standpoint, unpatched systems obviously lead to exploitation, and in itself that can result in either data loss or data ransom or other unforeseen circumstances. There are multiple other features here. As I said, I'm just picking a few key highlights here to align to the core message of the day. Automation over here, I'm not going to spend much time here, but this just shows you how far we've gone into completing our solution, specifically for our partners and for us, the service providers who deliver these on to the end customers and through to you as the user of the system, to offer a complete picture without the need for the external systems to manage the data. Overall, our platform delivers a common user experience with a single agent. It's API driven too, so it's very much built in the cloud for the cloud. And it can leverage third-party management tools, automation tools, etc., for your convenience. It's all underpinned by our Acronis infrastructure. We have over 50 data centers worldwide. We have our own Acronis cyber network for intercommunication between our data centers. And of course, we have our compute and storage components there for disaster recovery or remote workloads to be running in the cloud. So to speak now to some real examples over here, I mean, I've had the pleasure of working with and selling and implementing Acronis for a great many years. And I think just of one or two customers here where I've either simplified their overall backup and data protection needs. And I take a very big oil and gas company in Africa who specifically reached out to me after implementation, saying what used to take them 3 days for a backup operation and for an environment now takes them under 8 hours to complete successfully. And of course, this is in mission critical environments. Time is very much money. And more so than that, when it comes to recovery of these systems, we've rapidly accelerated the time to recovery when these automation and these plant-based systems, plant-based, not that you can eat it, but these systems that are in the plant are, in the manufacturing plant, are being restored. Any minutes or any hours of downtime for them costs in the millions of dollars. The time is indeed of the essence there. Another great example I have, sorry, are there any questions or any comments there? Great. I'll continue. So another real world example, technical university. It was, I mean, there's many highlights, there's many successes, but This one just stood out because I suppose I was involved from the solution design through to the implementation. And this is over 10 years ago when I've gotten involved there with this project. It's still the solution of choice for them through all the iterations of their own IT journey and their own systems journey, through to all the disasters that they've faced. And I can tell you now they've faced many, be it student protests and fires to the server room, to malware attacks, to denial of service attacks, to user error, data loss, data deletion. They have basically consolidated I think it was 700 virtual machines across their two VMware data centers, and were offered full protection with the Acronis Cyber Protect solution. And they had two solutions previously to just cover the data protection component. They had a tape-based and a disk-based backup. They were running three individuals assigned to managing, or three backup operators assigned to this. The new solution with Acronis, which is still in effect today, we switched away from tape-based backup, moved to disk and cloud, thus allowing for significantly reduced backup and recovery time window. But also importantly, we reduced their skill requirement from 3 people to 1 person. And I will say this, there was a second person assigned because we always recommend you have a backup, but it was not a full-time assignment. So I tell you a few of these examples, and very rapidly, as you can see, because, well, time is of the essence here. And in this Q&A session, if you have any questions or if you'd like to know any more, please do let me know. Now, with this, I say you hear of all these wonderful value propositions and valuable points defined here, but how do you get access to this? I make it sound easy, at least I hope I do. How do you get access to it? And, what is the solution to this? Honestly, we'll say this is how simple it is. The click of a button with the Acronis solutions, and you can enable all or any of or some of these protection features as required by you with the help of your partner here, Promethean, to deliver complete cyber protection for you. As you can see, it's a single, here's a quick snapshot from the console itself, just to show you how integrated it is. But you have from your backup to your malware protection, to your vulnerability assessment, to your patch management, even your data loss prevention or data leakage prevention and EDR, all integrated into the same pane of glass. With that, I'm going to close out on our data center map, who Acronis is. So we're currently still rapidly growing. We're over 2,000 employees worldwide. I see this slide says 40 plus data centers. We've actually just broken the 50. Well, sorry, not broken. We've just reached the 50th data center mark, and we continue to expand. We have data centers both in Africa. We have Nigeria and South Africa at the moment, and more to come in the future. We have over 20,000 partners worldwide. We're in 34 locations, our offices, and we are rapidly expanding. We've been around since 2003. Some of you may know Acronis True Image, which was our core and initial product. But since then, we've been on a wonderful journey into cyber protection, into the cloud. And we come here today to bring you our easy and effective and reliable cyber protection offering. That's all, folks. Now for the questions, please.
Okay, so it's time for the question and answer. And if you prefer to have them written down, please go to the chat box and lay your question so we can take them one after the other. But are there questions that you would like to ask orally?
Are there any Q&A or any chat here? If you'd like to ask anything, please unmute yourself. Otherwise, I will mute myself in a moment and pass on. Seems no questions.
Okay, so we're waiting on questions. It's question and answer time. Okay, so
thank you. Yeah. Daniel, I see there's a question over there. Would you like to read it?
Yes, okay. It says, can I decide to choose the data center I want to store my backup?
So, yes, but this is decided when you or when a customer creates, or a customer account and a customer login is created effectively. So when we provision the user, then we provision it to a specific data center. For example, if you were to onboard a customer or onboard today with Promethean, and you would say, you know what, I need to be in the Singapore data center for whatever reason, then you could opt to do that, let them know, and they would be able to provision you in that data center specifically.
Okay. Daniel, does this fully, did you understand what he said? Okay. Okay. Yes, it says, thank you. From Damilola, he says, does this solution focus on just backups or can do replication as well in real time?
Excellent question there. So indeed, the solution is focused on cyber protection specifically. And the data protection component is an integral part to that. So we do offer replication specifically on VMware to VMware, should you require a VM itself to be replicated. But we do not offer any other form or type of replication of data. Does that answer clearly, or if you have any more specific asks on that, please do expand on your question.
Okay, he said yes. Oh, he also wants to know what are the core areas I can back up? Database, applications.
Excellent. So you can do a full system image, the complete entire down to a block level on a disk, through to individual file and folders on a system, and with the supported applications, which we have, I think, a multitude of them, we can do application level backup or database level backup specifically. So I mean, if it's for MS SQL or MySQL or MariaDB or I mean, I suppose Exchange is not something much anymore, but Exchange Online or Microsoft 365, etc. We can do application backup of that. And say for Microsoft 365 specifically, we can do Mail, as well as Teams, as well as SharePoint, as well as OneDrive, to just shed an example of how deep we can go with that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. French. Any other questions so we can take on and move on to the next speaker? All right, thank you very much, Mr. French. Okay, so we're moving on to the next speaker, who in person is Mr. Elvis Okoye. He's the cloud engineer for Promethean Consulting Limited, and he's going to proceed now. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. We can.
Okay. Sorry, good afternoon. I'm going to be sharing my screen. So if you see my screen, just tell me. So please notify me when you are seeing my screen.
And see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have a lot of interesting material to share with you today. And
sorry, I'm so sorry for cutting you short, Elvis. There's a question from Miracle Amara, and she's asking, I'm late. Can I get to know the core? Mr. French, I don't know if you understand that question properly.
I unfortunately do not understand that question, but I suppose if anything, we can share a summary or an executive summary of what we do and what we offer. And you can pass that on to the listeners and attendees afterwards.
Okay, so Miracle, if you can be more elaborate, and I'll also send you an email address to if you have more questions, so we can, chat with you and understand you better. Another question from Ikile Odigwe. He's asking, are there real-time data recovery in time of disaster recovery on this solution?
So real time, no. We would typically see a recovery window of 5 to 15 minutes. So your disaster recovery is based on your last successful backup. Mission critical applications, you can of course set a more rigorous backup control to ensure that the latest changes are always or continuously shared to the cloud. But it will depend on your last point in time. And one as a business, one needs to decide what is one's RTO and your RPO, or your recovery time objective and your recovery point objective, as in how much data loss would be considered acceptable should a major catastrophe happen. And then with our disaster recovery solution, you can, in the event of a failure, spin up within 5 minutes in the cloud and continue to operate.
Okay, Ikile, you need to confirm if you understood what, to know if your question has been answered. There's another one from John Paul Chukwujeku, and he says, can the backup be auto-scheduled?
Short answer, absolutely yes. You can very easily control the schedule and timing, etc. of the backups. You can go further and also prevent it from running within operational hours should you want to have a specific window in which you define the cloud backup to be operational or to be running, and also to reduce any possible impact on live systems. So it's easy, you can do it to your heart's desire, effectively.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. French. Okay, so I'll be typing the email address to reach out if you need more clarification, if you need more pricing, or proposal or data sheet, whatsoever you need on this Acronis. So you can get that, send an email to sales@prometheanconsult.com. I'll put that by the way. Thank you so much, Mr. French. Please proceed, Mr. Elvis.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Okay, so I was saying that I have a lot of exciting material to share with you guys today, and my name is Elvis, as Amanda has rightly said at the beginning of this webinar, and I'm a cloud security engineer for PCIS. So I help PCIS deal with their security concerns and also with their data protection. So I help them, consulting them on how to secure their data and how to carry out best practices on securing their data. So today I'm going to be covering several topics. So I'm going to be covering topics on cloud data security, data privacy, data-aware security posture, ransomware, and PCI services used for the data protection. So before I start, I just want to just state out some statistics in today's data world and data protection world. So in today's world, we all know that data is the new code. We all know that when we're talking about data, data is everybody's good. When companies hold data as pure as good because of data holds information, and when information is stolen, because data in its raw form is data, but when it's processed, it's information. So that information is vital in every organization because of that information can be used to maybe get access to certain unauthorized, maybe files on the company site, or get access to a human who is currently using that data as a sense of confidentiality, a sense of privacy in its own way. So having that data stolen from you can amount to a loss, a really big loss to your company. So at the moment, companies right now, organizations right now are keeping their data very secure because of that data is cool to them. So for today's statistics, we have 90% of data breaches are financially motivated, which means anytime there's a data breach or anytime an organization was attacked, 90% of the reasons why they were breached was for financial reasons. So they were meant to maybe extort money from the organization or ask for a ransom from the organization. So also, it's 2% of data breaches are a result of human error. So as we all know, it's not just about how secure your environment is. A human factor is also human error is also a factor when it comes to securing your data. So if the humans or if the staffs in your organizations are not cybersecurity aware, they won't be able to secure your environments, even though you have the hardest security posture in your perimeter. So a human factor, data breaches based on human factor is also a relevant factor when it comes to data security. And then cost of data breach every year, especially in the US, is about $9.4 million, which is a lot of money if you convert it to Naira here. So what that basically says is that companies spend a lot of money when it comes to securing their data. So for a company to spend the amount of money, you will know that they take data very seriously and they take data security as their topmost priority in their organization. So I'm going to be speaking on cloud data security as a whole now. So cloud data security is basically making sure that you can protect your data both at rest and in motion. So you are protecting your data from unauthorized access, protecting your data from theft, protecting your data from corruption, and is relying on very secure tools like maybe backup and replication, firewalls, and also disaster recovery and business continuity. So cloud data security is essentially a way of protecting your data that is kept in a cloud environment or in your local environment from unauthorized access or from unauthorized persons to edit or modify that data so that data now becomes useless to the company because it's going to be modified or mishandled by the unauthorized persons. So in this course, we're going to be understanding what's data security in the cloud, how it is that your data can be protected, what cloud data security best practices are, and what you should follow to ensure that cloud-based data assets are secured and protected. Takes me to the next slide. So why do companies need cloud data security? So companies make up the vast majority of the percentage that I just stated above. So they make up, when we're talking about the fact of 90% of companies and 80% of companies, I was just talking about companies in general. So companies make up the vast majority of people that are hit by the cybersecurity attack. So it's a given that they have to be compliant when it comes to security. So there are certain factors a company has to consider when protecting its data. The first one is data control. So data control tends to answer the question of who has access to your company's data, how are they accessing that data, from where are they accessing it, when and why are they accessing that data. Like it answers a lot of questions based on control. Who, what, why, when are they accessing that data? So that's what data control is all about. And there are a lot of controls that can be put in place, like this privilege can be put in place, they are adopted when it comes to data control. So you can give only authorized persons access to that confidential information at that specific point in time. Then the next factor is we have to talk about data sovereignty. So data sovereignty is where companies are required to store specific bits of data in specific locations due to governmental sanctions and restrictions. If you mostly use cloud vendors like AWS and Azure, you know that there's a branch of their data center that is just meant for governmental purposes. And what that means is that data, whether it be in any location or any region in the world, should not be sent to another region in the world because of maybe data compliance. Maybe if US doesn't want their customer data to be stored in a Chinese server, that company has to now be data compliant and only store US US customer data in the US servers and Chinese data in the Chinese servers if they want to. That's where data sovereignty comes in place, because now you have restrictions based on governmental sanctions. Then the last factor is data classification. So data classification is where you decide whether you want some of your data to be accessible to the public, while others are for maybe you want other users that are internal to use some of those sensitive data. So some example is if you have a web server hosted in your on-prem environment, you can allow users to access that environment, that web server hosted there, because of it's meant to be public facing. So that data that is on that server is meant to be public, while applications that are internal, that is to your company, that's only your company uses the application, you're not going to make it internet facing, because of you just want only authorized users to be able to have access to that internal application, which is mainly going to be hosting specific and sensitive data, maybe customer data. So that is data classification. It's basically just saying what data should be made public and what data should be made private. So we also have, there are many other reasons why companies should have data security, but these are the main factors companies should have data security. So in the next slide, I'll be talking about the CIA Triad. So the CIA Triad is just basically one of the most, the CIA Triad is the most fundamental concept when it comes to cybersecurity. And what the CIA Triad talks about is just how to be confidential with the data, how your data can be made integratable, and how it can be made available. So without missing much of the time, I'll just talk about the first CIA Triad, which is confidentiality. So what is confidentiality? Confidentiality is essentially what cybersecurity is at the core. Like when you're talking about cybersecurity, you're going to be talking about confidentiality, because confidentiality is also known as privacy. So what that means is that it's keeping a system or a data private to ensure that only authorized people are able to view a certain aspect of data. And an example of this is maybe like your credit card information or your social security number if you live elsewhere in the world. So that kind of data is meant to be confidential. It's meant to be confidential to only you. So when you have a confidential data or a private data that only you need to have access to, that data is meant to be confidential. It's just like if you have your phone and you want to keep the data in your phone confidential or private, you are going to have to lock your phone, make sure it has the security in place to confine that data in that specific area so that only you or only authorized persons has access to that data. So the next in the CIA Triad is integrity. So what integrity is just the ability to ensure that assets has only been modified by an authorized person. The moment that unauthorized entity modifies an asset, integrity has been lost. So what it means that if maybe you have two people, let's say Bob and Alice, and then now they're trying to send information between both of them. Let's say there's a third party, and the third party is, let's say, Eve. So Bob and Alice are trying to send information between both of them, but Eve is not intercepting the data that is being sent between both of them. So when you're not talking about integrity, integrity is saying that Eve, which is the middleman in this case, should not be able to take that data and modify that data, because when that data is being taken from Bob, which is being sent to Alice, and Eve modifies that data is no more having that concept of integrity, because it has been modified along the way while reaching Bob, or reaching Alice. Even though if the message goes to Alice, that message or that data is no more having that integrity, has not integrity because of it has been modified by Eve, which is like the middleman. So all data integrity is talking about is just making sure that the data that's being sent from one end to another end was as it was sent from that sender and as it's going to be received by the receiver. So that is all about data integrity. The last one is data availability. So what data availability is just applies to both data and services to ensure that an asset can only be used by an authorized user for an intended purpose. So availability ensures that we have timely responses to our requests, that resources are fairly allocated when we are trying to request something, and that many users can use one service simultaneously without any latency. So data availability, as the word implies, is just making sure that the data that you want to use is available to you whenever and wherever you need it. So for example, there's something called a DDoS attack. So a DDoS attack, what it does is that it brings down a service or it brings down an application hosted somewhere, maybe in the cloud, and then it makes that data, it makes that website, it makes the application unaccessible by users because there are a lot of requests going to it by the attacker. So you use something called botnets to attack that server so that it brings down that service and makes sure that data is not accessible by the users. So if that data is not accessible by the user, that data is as well as not useful because of even confidentiality and integrity doesn't play a role because that data is not accessible at all. So data confidentiality, data integrity, and data availability are the core of cybersecurity when it comes to securing your data. So we need to have these three things in mind when we're talking about securing your data in the cloud because this is the core fundamental of data security. So in the next slide, I'll be talking about some of the benefits of data security. So that's in the cloud. That's if you're hosting your data in the PCI's cloud and make sure that it's going to be secured while it's in the cloud. So the first one is for greater visibility. So what do I mean by greater visibility? It means that you get to have visibility into your data real estate by knowing the data assets you have and where they live, who is using your cloud services, and the kind of data they are accessing. So when you store your data in a cloud environment, especially in our cloud environment, you're going to have like a console where you can know who had access to this data at this particular point in time, who modifies the data at time, who should have data. So it's like using least privilege in the cloud. So when you do that in the cloud, you have greater visibility of what your data is being used for and what or who is using your data for that particular reason. So that's one big benefit. The next benefit is easy backup and recovery. So this is like one of our biggest solutions when it comes to data protection because of it's going to be giving you benefits on number of solutions and features to help automate and standardize backups. So to free up your teams from monitoring manual backups and troubleshooting problems. DR also allows you to store and recover data and applications in minutes. So backup and recovery is like one of the core concepts when it comes to data protection because of in the event of your data being modified or your data being unavailable or your data being not confidential, you can have a backup of that data somewhere offsite. I'll talk about the truth wrong later on, but you have your backup of that data somewhere, and that data cannot be recovered in the event where that data is no more having those three aspects of the CIA, which is either confidentiality, integrity, or availability. So here, backup and recovery is a solution for that. The next benefit is cloud data compliance. So good cloud data security programs are designed to meet compliance obligations, including where the data is stored, who can access it, how it's processed, and how it's protected. So this data compliance goes back to the topic when I was talking about data sovereignty, which means if the data is not meant to be at this particular location, you have to be compliant enough to have that data in that location. And not just about having that data in that location, something like HIPAA or GDPR, which is like or PCI DSS, which is for card payments. So you need to have security in place. If you want to host a credit card information in your server, you need to be compliant enough to know that, okay, there's security posture in place for you to host that credit card information in your servers. So you need to be compliant. And what we do in our PCI cloud data is to give you that compliance, give you that assurance, give you that security that whatever you host in our cloud environment is going to be compliant based on data on governmental regulations that are out there in the world. So the next benefit is data encryption. So what data encryption is just the need for data to be secured both at rest and in transit. Like I said earlier, data at rest and data in transit need to be secured. So whether it's being posted on the server and just sitting down there while as a backup, that data needs to be encrypted and needs to be secured while it is at rest. Then even the data is being moved, like the example I gave between Alice and Bob, that they're trying to communicate, and Eve is in the middle. If that data that is being sent in transit is encrypted, Eve will not have any access to that data because that data will be scrambled to Eve when she receives the message, and she won't be able to modify the message because of the message. The data will have hashing algorithms that is going to make sure, okay, this is not the hashing algorithm that Bob initially used to send to Alice. So in that case, this data that we are getting from Bob is not integrated enough to be the data that was sent by Bob. So data encryption at rest and in transit is one core benefit of our cloud data security, especially because organizations need to be able to protect sensitive data whenever and wherever it goes. So our cloud data protection helps to tackle secure cloud data transfer, storage, and sharing by implementing several layers of advanced encryption standards based on the data that we use. So the next benefit is lower cost. So what lower cost is just that our data protection standard reduces your total cost of ownership. In addition to that, we also offer the latest security feature and tools, making it easier for security professionals to do their job with automation, streamline integration and continuous alerting. But what that means is that in our cloud environment, we have a integrated tool which helps with automating your backup and your recovery. We also have analysis or tools to use for analyzing the environment to make sure that everything is meant to go as planned or is meant to go as instructed, and also alerting to alert you if maybe there's a failure in one of your backups, is a failure in one of your VMs that is in our cloud environment that is protecting data, or maybe somebody accesses this data that was not meant to access that data. So the alerting in this case is just like an integrated tool that helps you to know or be aware of what is in your environment. This works hand in hand with greater visibility. Then the last but not least is advanced incident detection and response. So what this is like also an integration, because of we have integrated firewall features that analyzes and automatically scans for suspicious activity to identify and respond to security incidents quickly. So what this incident or this EDR is like an EDR that we have integrated with our cloud environment. What it does is just that it makes sure that data that is in our environment is kept safe, because of it has two features where it detects any changes or any attack happening in our environment, and also gives a proactive AI response to that data, and then gives you alerts to say, okay, I saw this event happening in your environment, and these are the response, or these are the remediations I took based on the attack that came into your environment. So this advanced incident response and detection response is one of the major benefits that we have in our cloud data security. So I'll be moving on and talking about who is responsible for your data. So in the cloud, the data in the cloud is more like a shared responsibility, because of it's not just the cloud vendor, in this case PCIs, that's going to be the one securing your data. It's going to be us, that is a vendor, and you, the user, who is going to be responsible for the data that is in the cloud, because of we only have access to what you give us access to, which most of the time is just going to be the networking, the server itself, that's between the servers, and maybe the OS. It depends on the type of service you want running in our environment. But you get to take care of the data, what data is being sent to our cloud environment, and what data is being sent out of the cloud environment. So what this data responsibility is just saying is that we, us the vendor, and you the client, have a responsibility to make sure that the data stored in the cloud is only meant to be read or used or modified by authorized users within the environment. So it's a shared responsibility between us, the vendor, and you, the client. So I'll be talking about compliance. So I already spoke about this before, so I'll just be brief talking about it. So what does it mean to be compliant? So I spoke about if you are hosting credit card information in your environment, you have to be compliant. If you are hosting hospital information, which is HIPAA, in your cloud environment or your data center environment, you have to be compliant enough to know that sensitive medical information that you have within your environment should not go out or should not be made public, because of those may be used against the user whenever that data is being sold in public. And also GDPR. That GDPR is also one of the compliance measures, which means you have to make sure that that data is meant to be stored in a location or a region that is authorized by the government. That data has to have, that data stored in your environment has to have certain security standards to be stored in that region or to stored in that location. So being compliant is just to be able to have the right security in place to store the right amount of the data in your environment. So that is what it means to be compliant. So the next slide. So I'll be briefly talking about ransomware and what ransomware is all about, because ransomware is like the core when it comes to data that is being gotten from a company. So ransomware in this event is basically just, as the word implies, ransomware, so which is a ransom malware. So here in the ransomware, when attackers get into your environment, they encrypt your data and then they ask you to give them money so that they can release that data. But the issue with ransomware is that you are not really sure of the credibility of those attackers, because they are liars. So if they can tell you that, okay, if I take your data, I encrypt it, if you pay me, I'll send them my money, I'm going to release it back to you. You that you are paying that money to those attackers, you're not sure if they are actually going to give you your data as is, that is without modifying it, and also that they're not going to keep a copy of that data. Because what happens now when someone steals your data, especially if you don't want to pay the ransom, what they do is that they sell it to the dark web. So they just ask, so do you want information on this person? Because of maybe the attacker doesn't actually have any use for that data. But then somebody hacker out there maybe has use for that data. So he goes to the cloud, he goes to the dark web and sells that data to the dark web. So that is one fear of ransomware. Even if you get your data back, even if you pay the ransom and you get that back, you're not sure if that data has not been copied or sent out to some other parties in the dark web. So ransomware is like one of the major, like this is that everybody is being hit by ransomware right now because like it's the new good. Ransomware is like the new, everybody wants to attack a company and they're thinking first of ransomware because of it's the one that gets them the gold, so that gets them the money. So every company should be secure when it comes to to stopping attacks based on a ransomware attack. So how did the ransomware attack happen? So like I said before, they just infect your hard drive, infect any backup that you have in your environment, which is always good to have a cloud backup in your environment. They infect anything that could hold sensitive data and then ask you to pay to get that data back in your environment. So that is one of the major attack points, or one of the reasons why ransomware or how they attack your environment. Encrypt your drive, ask you to pay ransom, you pay them ransom, they send you a decrypted key which you can use to decrypt all your files in your environment. So this is how ransomware works. Then the typical delivery methods. So there's spear phishing, which is just basically when they are attacking a certain person in your environment, and then not just spamming everybody in your environment, they are attacking that specific person and also picking up smart ways to make that person give out sensitive information which they cannot use to enter or gain access into your environment. Then there's exploitation, which is the same thing. They just find a weakness or find a vulnerability in your environment and they exploit it by putting malwares or viruses, which then get sensitive information into your organization. And then it's replicated through removal media, which is through USB. So sometimes some people might just keep USB in like a place, and then because of the staff is unaware of what's in it, they want to use a flash drive to send information from one system to another system in the same company. They plug in that flash drive to the system, not knowing that that flash drive is actually infected with a malicious virus. When they do that, that's that system gets affected, and that is one of the major vectors of how ransomware attackers get to attack the company that has those data. Then there's valid accounts, which is just they try to gain access through valid accounts and then move up the ladder and then gain access based on maybe admin rights so that they can do much more nefarious acts than what that user they have currently does. So that is one of the main delivery methods or delivery types when it comes from ransomware. So the attack has changed. Right now, the people are not just going online and doing any little ransomware attack because now everybody knows how to do ransomware attack. So right now, ransomware attacks is evolving over the past years, and then people are actually going to this ransomware game. Because like I said before, the ransomware is now the new gold. So everybody's going to this ransomware, everybody's trying to see how they can make it better, how to harden how to use AI, how to use machine learning to also trick the systems faster so that it's easier for them to attack a company, it's easier for them to gain access to their environment. So that is how the cybersecurity landscape when it comes to ransomware has evolved over the past few years. That's about 2-3 years. Because the drastic heights or the drastic level at which it has risen is really unsurmountable. So for the last part, I'll be talking about PCIs and data security. So how does PCIs protect your data security? So PCIs protect your data security because it uses cloud data protection. Like I said before, we have integration with a lot of recovery and backup tools, which we use to ensure that your business continues even though there's a disaster in your environment. So in the event where your environment and then you have maybe there's a fire outbreak or maybe a ransomware attack, we have a backup of your data in place, which we use to recover your data from it. So if you have critical data that you want or that you need to have, like at that point in time, digital recovery will be your best option because of it's just redirect or reroute all the application, all the traffic from that unused or unavailable server to the server that is hosted in our cloud environments to offer you that digital recovery so that it gives you zero-time business continuity to your staffs, the users, maybe in the internet or on-prem, can continue using the application, can continue that service without any downtime or without any interruption, which is one of the major reasons, one of the benefits of our cloud data protection, which is disaster recovery and backup. So what it does is it eliminates data loss. So we have in a program or integration with DLP, which is data loss prevention, which is notifies when sensitive data wants to leave the environment. So it uses machine learning, obviously, to know, okay, is this sensitive information meant to leave the environment? So it's when a sensitive data is about to leave the environment, it alerts the administrator that sets up that DLP and asks it, do you want this data to leave your environment? So it's not as if it blocks it. It takes access for permission if this data should be blocked or not from leaving the environment. If it shouldn't, if the admin says no, that this data should not leave the environment, it blocks it from leaving the environment. If it should, then it allows it. Then last of it is protect against ransomware. Like I spoke before in the previous slides, ransomware is like one of the biggest threats when it comes to company security. So what our PCI Cloud Protect does is that it prevents against this ransomware by not only alerting you when a ransomware is about to attack, it will happen in your cloud environment, but it will mitigate it and send you a report of how it happened, the analysis of why it happened, and what we should do better to mitigate that error from happening again. So is one benefit of our PCI Cloud Protect. So the benefits, these are always talking about some of the benefits. One major benefit is that it ensures your organization resilience is through an expansive platform that provides you with data security, data recovery, and data freedom. I'll be speaking more on just little bits on data security, data recovery, and data freedom to show you how it can be beneficial using our cloud data protect to host your data in our environment. So some stats here is that 85% of companies have experienced at least one ransomware attack in the past year. 82% of manual processes or any number of companies use manual processes to recover their data after an outage, which means they don't use automated, but it's not automated. They have to go into the system, do the manual backup with using their system, using mouse and keyboard, make sure that backup, that recovery is done manually, but there are other automatic ways of doing a recovery or digital recovery from the cloud. Then 95% are moderately to extremely concerned about cloud security. So 95% of companies are extremely concerned about how secure cloud is and why they should move to the cloud based on security that everybody have heard that it is unsecure, it's vulnerable to host your data in the cloud. So which is one of the big reasons why companies are hesitant to move to the cloud. So I'll be speaking why this is a myth and this should not be what people should think about. So PCIs, we have a complete solution for delivering data security, data recovery, and data freedom, like I said in last slide. So what data security is, in the brief sense, is just a multi-layered security that gives you confidence that your data is always protected. So we have, like I said, when you are securing your data, you need to have data at rest and data, you secure data at rest and data in transit. So what this data security that we have in our cloud environment does is data at rest. So when you have your backup in our cloud environment, what we do is that we make sure that the data is encrypted, compressed, and secured in our cloud environment. So even if the attacker gain access to our cloud, which is near to impossible, but if they gain access to our cloud environment, they will not be able to have access to that data because it's going to be encrypted and it's going to be immutable for those attackers to be able to modify that data. Then there's also secure recovery. So like I said, data at rest, data in transit. When you do the recovery, even if the attacker is still in your environment, if the attacker is still within your on-premise environment, the attacker can still be able to modify or encrypt that data. But what secure recovery does is that it makes sure that the malware that was used to attack or encrypt that data can't be used to encrypt that data that is being recovered to your environment. So it encrypts it, secures it, make sure that even while it's being transiting through the internet or through a virtual private network, it's not being modified. The integrity of that data has not been lost, and every that data that has been sent from the cloud to your on-prem location is being secured and confidential based on what was initially sent to the cloud. The last one is secure access. So what it does is just it prevents unauthorized access and malicious actors. So what it does in this case is that if you want to recover your data, if you want to back up your data, only authorized users should be able to have access to that backed up data. So just for least privilege sake, it's meant to be used to prohibit users which do not have access or which might delete the data by mistake from doing so, because if you did a backup, that's as well as if the main data goes down, you won't have a backup anymore. So you having secure access or authorized access to that data is one of the fundamentals of data security in PCIS Cloud. So I'll be speaking next on data recovery. So what data recovery is basically recovering exactly what you need when you need it. So instant recovery. Once you are doing your recovery, once you want to recover your data from the cloud, there's fast restores, so that all your workloads that are coming into your environment are done without any issues. They are done without any. There's no latency. There's no lag. Once you are doing the recovery is not something that data redundancy, which is your data recovery. Sorry, which is you are just rerouting the traffic to a server hosted in the cloud. But recovery is you have a data in the cloud and you're recovering it to your on-prem location. So what we can offer you is fast restore your entire workload with 0 to near recovery time of data. That's RTOs, which he spoke about earlier. That's Mr. French. And also there's this granular finding which gives you you can restore based on maybe files and folders. Maybe you don't want to restore the entire VM. You can just restore maybe a file and folder based on what you back up. Maybe you want to just restore maybe a database if you backed up a database. So you can have granular access to restore based on those little things. Then last is orchestrated, which is achieve proven one-click recovery of large-scale complex operations. So if you want to recover at a go, you can if you want to get 10 servers, you don't have to go to each server and recover it one at a time. You can select all the servers and recover it to the specific locations you want them to be covered in on your on-prem location. Then next is data freedom. So here in data freedom, it's just saying that you can protect all your data anywhere, anyway, and with 0 locking. So expand your native support for all critical workloads. It doesn't matter if it's Windows, it doesn't matter if it's Linux, it doesn't matter if it's any other distribution of Unix. You can back up all this your data and recover it to you on your own application. So it helps to optimize reliability and cost across your choice of infrastructure, and also helps to move data to, from, and across platforms for complete control and flexibility. So that is what that freedom gives you in when you host your data in our environment. So how PCIS data protection keeps a business running. So we have 3 major tools for doing that, which is proven disaster recovery orchestration, accurate and proactive monitoring and analysis, then secure backup and fast recovery. So I've spoken on some of this before, so I'll just be talking briefly on them. So proven disaster recovery orchestration, like I said before, you can recover not just one server at a time. You can recover more than one server. You can recover 10 at a time to specific locations or to your location of choice in your on-prem location. So if you don't have to be going one by one, you don't have to be doing damage control, you don't have to say, this server is not yet backed up, let's wait for it to back up. It does everything at a go using machine learning, and it reduces compliance risks, saves you valuable time, and improves business resilience and business continuity. So that is what disaster recovery orchestration does for you. The next one is accurate and proactive monitoring analysis. So we have a monitoring tool or a SIM tool, which is security information and events management tool, which is meant to be used for monitoring your cloud data in our environment. It's going to be telling you what gets deleted, what got modified, who has access to what, why did you have access to what, and gives it IAM, which is access control, identity and access control, and also it does PAM, which is privileged access monitoring. So it does everything that you need in a monitoring tool that you have in our cloud environment. So it ensures business resilience, which is lack of visibility across your backup environments can lead to data loss. So it gives you that resilience to know that, okay, any data that you host in your environment is resilient to any attack or to any threat. Then also the monitoring tool also gives you the ability to monitor when the data is being sent away from their environment, it's meant to monitor, okay, this data was successfully, was it modified along the way, there was no threat along the way, and there was no miscommunication along the way while we're doing the recovery. So it gives you a visual visibility into your backup environment to know that, okay, everything that's been done, any analysis being done, any monitoring being done was done right and was done to scale. So which is what this accurate proactive monitoring analysis does in our cloud environment. Then secure backup and fast recovery. So this I've spoken about before. It just gives you, make sure that have a your recovery is fast, your recovery is on time, your recovery is done with minimal or zero hour loss, because of we all know that data is gold, and we know that you have to keep your data. You have to keep your data secure. You have to keep your data moving. You have to keep users using your service. You have to keep users using the application that you host in your servers, because we all know that 5 minutes of downtime could be, if a big company is using your data, 5 minutes of data could really harm that company, because of a lot of money could be lost within that 5 minutes. It could even cause the shares to drop. So having your backup and your recovery to be done fast and in a timely manner is one of the most effective ways to secure your data and make sure that, okay, your business can recover from any loss. Your business can recover from any downtime, can recover from any disaster that comes in your company's way. So which is one of the main feature of our PCI's cloud data recovery and cloud data protection portfolio. So this is the end of my presentation. So Amanda, if there are any questions, I can take them now.
Okay, thank you so much, Elvis Okoye. Yes, we have a question from Ikile Odigo. He says, what is the security level of the platform on which the solution is built on? As Linux and Windows administrators, we understand how it works. I think he's talking about the CIE trend.
I'm sorry, can I come up with the question again? I couldn't hear you.
He says, what is the security level of the platform on which this solution is built on? And he says, as Linux and Windows administrators, we understand how it works with CIE trend.
With Triad. Okay, so the security. Okay, the security is built on, we have VAPT process running in our environment 24/7, so which is vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So with that process running 24/7, and also we have a SOC team that is also using or monitoring any activity that's happening in our cloud environments, we can assure you that confidentiality, integrity, and availability is our watchword, because of if any data is not being confidential, we have the SOC team and the VAPT team making sure that that data is being recovered to its normal use and is being confidential and private still, and make sure that it doesn't even leave the environment using the DLP process we have in our environment. This is data loss prevention tool, which is used to stop data from being excluded from the environment. Then we also have, for the integrity, we also make sure that, okay, the SOC team, when they're doing their monitoring, we also make sure that there's no modification of data access control is being done on that environment to make sure that, okay, no authorized person has access to that data or has access to that environment without it being Linux or Windows. So only authorized users. And if they are unauthorized users, we send alerts to administrator. And availability, we make sure that your servers, data are up and running 24/7 and they are always available to you at any point in time. So we have a lot of processes, a lot of security processes that can help give you that CIA try that you are looking for. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Mr. Akili. Do we have any question we can take? Okay, he says yes. Do we have any further questions? From Daniel, he says, under benefits of cloud data security, you mentioned easy backups and recovery as one benefit. Is there a specific backup solution that PCIS use to ensure my data is backed up and recovered seamlessly?
Thank you, Daniel. So we have integration with a lot of backup solutions, but the main one we use in our cloud environment is Vim backup and replication. So what Vim backup and replication does is just an integrated tool that helps us to give you that zero-time backup and recovery that you need for disaster recovery and business continuity. So with that application integrated with our cloud platform, which is where we can use to host servers for disaster recovery, we get this blend of seamlessly integrating that platform, that's Vim backup and our cloud data protect, to make sure that whenever there's an issue in your cloud, in your on-prem environment, whether there's an attack or when there's an event of a damage or an availability of that server, you can have that data available to you within seconds in our cloud environment. So using our Vim replication and Vim backup, we can achieve that in our cloud data environment. So Daniel, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, yes, it says yes. Do we have any further questions we can take before we bring this to a close? Okay, so I think we can still take in more questions. Elvis, please remain. I think someone is typing now. Okay, so like I said earlier, during the beginning of this webinar, I said Promethean Consult is committed to providing business solutions tailored to meet specific needs of our clients, ranging from the medium to enterprise businesses. So we pride ourselves on our ability to deliver quality services that exceeds our clients' expectations. And, our team is made up of professionals with extensive experience in the IT industry. And we are constantly updating our skills and knowledge to stay ahead of the curve. So if you're looking for a reliable IT service provider that can help you achieve your business goals, please look no further than Promethean Consulting Limited. And we will be more than happy to discuss your IT needs and also provide you with a solution that meets your requirement, especially in the area of cybersecurity as a service, data protection as a service, our network management solutions, and so much more. You can also reach out to us on sales at prometheanconsult.com. As typed earlier, I can still go ahead and type that again. Okay, so we have another question from Daniel. He says, can I get a server cluster in PCIs instead of just single VM instances? Elvis, are you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you, Daniel, again. So yes, for PCIs, we offer cluster service. So what cluster services are is just we give you an environment where you can create as many VMs as you want. So it gives you that flexibility, which means you have access to create VMs, host whatever you want to host in that VMs, do what they call a honeypot, which is like a environment that mimics your on-prem environment, so you can see how viruses work, or you can use it to host an application that you really want it to be within a confined space. So we have that cluster service, yes, which is meant to be a flexible environment for you to do workloads or to do your organizational planning or planning, so that you can be able to spin up VMs, be flexible, and work without being limited to just one VM. We also have hosting of just one VM in an environment. So if you also want to host one VM, yes, that's an option. So you have access to that one VM, that one environment, and that one option. So Danny, I hope that answers your question again.
Okay, so there's a question. He said yes, it does. There's a question from Victor. He says, does PCIS offer software as a service?
At the moment, we do not offer software as a service. What we offer mainly is platform as a service and infrastructure as a service. We don't offer software as a service at this moment. When we do, we'll notify you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know if there are any questions coming in. We can quickly wrap that up in 1:25 p.m. So we can still have any questions coming in 1 minute now. So I hope this webinar has been able to make us understand the benefits of advanced data protection and their strategies. And also we've learned from real life experience success stories from Mr. French, who spoke on the Acronis backup and DR, and also exploring the benefits of Acronis solution and our PCIS cloud service, and also gain actionable insights of, to safeguard our valuable data. Okay, so I think that is it. Thank you so much for joining us today. Despite the public holiday happening in Nigeria, thank you very much for joining. We will send records later to you via mail. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Okay, Elvis, you're here. We have a question from Ikili. Would you like to take that, or he can reach out to you?
Yeah, I can take it if he's still around.
Okay. Yes, he says, does Windows GPO affect or enhance the solution?
Well, the good policy, well, it depends on if you have what environment you are looking at. So if you have I hope I answer your question right, because GPO is for good policies and for AD. But if you have an environment where you want to replicate that good policy to that replicated server, that's if you have DR and you want to replicate that same information to that replicated server so that your businesses can continue as planned. So yes, we offer that site-to-site connection between your on-prem location and your cloud location so that whatever data that's been replicated, either being GPUs, if you have a hybrid solution, that is, if you have some servers in your on-prem location and some in our cloud environment, and you want to replicate the data and make sure that okay, whatever is on the on-prem also has the same good policies on the cloud. Yes, you can push that to the cloud. You can add to the domain. You can do what you want, and then you can have that seamless replication between the on-prem or your hybrid environment. I don't know if that's what you asked. That is Mr. Kelly, I think. Amanda?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, so if you have further questions, if you need resources, if you also want to have a meeting, please reach out to sales@prometheanconsult.com and we will give you a response in no time. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.